Once upon a time, when people stopped working, they retired with a pension. What is a pension? It's becoming a mythical creature, desired by many but offered to few. But now, boys and girls, you can build your own pension to help make your retirement life what you want it to be. Well, Brendon Murphy, talk to me about pensions. What are they, and what happened to them? Where they've gone?
Well, they've gone by the wayside, kind of like the dinosaur, to be honest with you. My grandparents, your grandparents, everyone retired with some type of company pension. The company paid into it. At some point, you had to stay there for a number of years to earn that pension, and then it paid out for the rest of your life and maybe your spouse's life if you were lucky enough to have it, right? So, but what they figured out is that it cost the company more money, and the pensions were actually underfunded. So when the employees needed to go get the money, it wasn't always there, and the company was still funding it. So after a while, some of these pensions went bankrupt, and the government had to fund the pensions. So the government stepped in and said to these, specific companies or whatever they may be, is that we need to do something different.
And that was the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, I think, that was created?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so what they did was they started freezing the pensions at where they were because they weren't going to get rid of the benefits. But at that same point, that's where the 401k, 403b, those different types of investments that the company found to be more profitable and still give the employee something to look forward to and have some kind of savings later on.
So the 401 and the 403bs, they helped the demise of the pension, do you think?
I think they did that along with the government saying we're not going to step in every time there's a pension that goes down. Like if you can't pay your pension and they're underfunded, which they all are, and most of the companies were, that's where they went.
But when you've got a 401k, you've got a 403b, you're pushing this onto the responsibility for planning for retirement. You're pushing this onto an individual who really has no education, no financial education to properly plan.
It's true. That's why they should try to work with somebody outside of the company because of the 401k. So you're planning your 401k, you work with somebody outside, you have your investments inside. So most people just walk in and go, and whoever helps sign them up goes, we think you should be here. And they just go, okay, that's great. And then never look at it again, right? I've heard that story a million times. I think maybe you have a little bit. They just look and they're like, all right, this sounds good. I'm going to go this way.
Yeah.
And it could be the most conservative. It could be the most aggressive. It could be somewhere in the middle. They're really not sure. And, they might be a target date fund. Hey, I get hired in 2024. I'm going to hit 2045. Hopefully I retire at that point. It's just not set up for success. And that it's based on that employee to continue to look over it unless they're working with somebody else.
You're talking about pensions for the big companies. I can remember my grandparents, you're absolutely right. My grandfather retired from Ford with a pension. My grandmother retired from Ma Bell. Remember that company?
Yep.
Big Bell? Yeah, she had a pension. And they did okay. But today, how many companies are out there with pensions? They do still exist, but are they in the same form?
Yeah, some of them are. You have unions that'll still have them.
Okay.
The teachers have one. If you're in a carpenters union, maybe if you're a steam fitter, police, some,
Right.
at a certain point, police do. Firefighters do, depending on if they're full-time. So there are pensions out there, maybe less than 4% of companies in America still have it. If you look at it, some of them have gone a different way, whether it be they have an annuity inside of the retirement, they have a 401k, just depending on how it looks.
All right. Speaking of annuities, the goal here is to explain how you can build your own pension. How do you even start?
Well, so if you're getting close to retirement, you're at that golden age, like 59 and a half, maybe you could say, you're able to do what's called an in-service withdrawal. So let's just say you have $1 million inside a 401k, because nowadays you're the one planning for it. You're able to roll a portion of that out because it's IRA dollars and start planning for your income piece. So it's like you're building your own pension. So most people today live on just Social Security, right? So if that's not going to be the only thing you want to live on besides your investments, somehow you're going to have a drawdown strategy where you're taking withdrawals from your 401k. Whether you want to go the Dave Ramsey rule of 8% or you want to go with a more conservative route, which is around like 3%. It used to be 4%, but somehow you're going to have to draw down those assets to help pay for your daily living.
How do you create a pension, though?
So what you do is you use a fixed index annuity with guaranteed lifetime income.
Explain.
So guaranteed lifetime income inside the annuity is something that's set based on your age and when you decide to start taking the income. Okay. So you put the money into the account and then it will grow to an income stream that you're ready to take. So let's say we use that 59 and a half. You roll it out, you wait 5 years. And at 65, you retire, you start taking income from the annuity, and it'll pay you until you're no longer here, or it can pay jointly to you and your spouse for as long as you're both here.
Are there tax advantages anywhere?
But by the rolling over, you don't pay any tax. But when you take the distributions, you have to pay tax. Uncle Sam's going to get their taxes regardless of what it is.
Okay. Can you do that with a Roth?
You can do that with a Roth, absolutely.
All right. And then I would assume that you'd already have paid the taxes on that. You wouldn't have to take it from the disbursements?
Correct.
Oh, not bad, not bad, not bad. So tell me some other ideas on how to build a pension.
So when you roll that over, you have the ability, because the annuities have a floor, right? So there's zero. So there's no market loss because they protect that principal. Okay. Then there's a ceiling on the growth. So you might not get the 30%, but you might make the 20%, right? The way they are now with the interest rates the way they are. So how they grow between caps and participation rates, which we can get into if you'd like, but that's how the contracts grow. And then the income piece is based on a yearly distribution. It can be paid monthly, quarterly, annually, however the client wants or the person investing in the annuity wants. But then that's their guaranteed income plus Social Security. So as long as you're hitting your number for what you need to live and survive on a yearly basis, then you can let your investments continue to grow outside of that.
I love that zero is my hero idea. Yeah, you don't lose. You don't, as you say, you don't reap all the gains, but you don't lose.
Nope, there's a floor and a ceiling. So as long as you understand that, like, hey, the market this week just went down like 9%. Our clients who are in those fixed index annuities with income riders, they didn't lose any more. They didn't lose any of their money. Okay, and they'll participate in the gains on the way back up. So, but their guaranteed income bucket will never go below a yearly, what they call the annual reset. So once interest is locked in, it's locked in for that year.
All right, now you were talking about beginning this strategy at like 59 and a half. What about starting something much earlier?
You can start. So we look at, there's some, growth fixed index annuities you can use. So if we're in that, you left a job, you have an old 401k and it's not being managed by someone, we could roll it into a fixed index annuity and let it grow for the next little while. So say like you're 40 and, you have a while to go and you want to protect that money because you've worked for it. We can do that strategy. And then after those contracts drop, you just start moving it towards the income phase later on. You have all these different flexibilities, and the products go from anywhere from a 3-year product to a 10-year product, depending on what you're looking for and the flexibility. So most people today, like we just had a bunch of Coca-Cola employees, their pensions were frozen, and they moved to a 401k strategy for their investments. So what we did is some of them, decided to move part of the pension to the fixed index annuities to preserve it because that's really their pension later on, and then reinvest some of the other assets to make sure that they're growing outside of it while they're still contributing to their 401k.
You just said their pensions were frozen. Explain that.
So Coca-Cola decided to get rid of the pensions for the employees that are still working there today, right? All past employees still receive their pensions from Coca-Cola. So they froze their pensions. So that means that the company's not contributing, they're not contributing. It's just dollars that are there. And they gave them the options. They had options to start taking it early. They could take it right then and there and start getting paid a pension on top of their salary, which puts them in a different tax bracket. Or they could roll it out into a lump sum to another investment vehicle. So depending on who the person was that worked for Coca-Cola, I think we worked with about 6 or 7 of them that we knew in the Philadelphia area. And we help them either one, roll it to a fixed index annuity, preserve, most of it. And then the rest of it, we put into investment vehicles, in the market so they can have some extended growth while they're still working to get to retirement.
If a company freezes a pension and they offer options, are they farming this out to another company?
No, they're leaving it on the employee to figure it out, to make that decision. We had, it was really just a conversation I had with somebody at a football field in our local youth club. And it was like, hey, you have more options than what they're just giving you. And then it was kind of like a trickle down effect. They were just saying, well, we have to take this option. I'm like, you don't have to take that option. Like, if you don't need the money now, this is something that you've been working for since you've been there. We can preserve it or help it grow on down the line, but you don't have to leave it there or just start taking the income from it.
That's almost like it's not a bait and switch, but for a company to simply say, well, here, this you got to do this. We can't help you with this. That stinks.
It is, because all the company can say is, hey, here are your options. I can give you advice on these options, but it might not be what your goals are for retirement. It just doesn't make any sense for them to leave it up. So when you have the opportunity to sit down and talk to someone, you figure out where their needs are and where we are in their retirement goals. Where can we get to? What portion of your assets, if you're in a 70-30 portfolio, what part of that portion should we protect and preserve for a personal pension later on? Because you're going to have to take distributions. So if that income is fixed, like Social Security, right? You got to get your Social Security monthly. It comes direct deposit now. It used to be called mailbox money because they mailed it to you, right? They used to mail it to you. But it's a fixed income. So now you know what you're living on every month. It's just like if I'm working and you're working today, you're trying to know what you make every month to pay your bills and do all those things. And now it gives you the ability to make sure that number's fixed. And then whatever assets you have on top, then you can make the decisions like, I'm going to take family vacation. I'm going to travel the world. It just depends on what you want to do.
Is it ever too late to start building your own pension?
It's really never too late. It just depends on where you are in your life and what your goals are. Are your goals to protect the assets and let them continue to grow and maybe not make sure it's an income stream? Like, you can take it later on, but right now you just want it to grow. You can do that. We work with clients 50 and up. We have clients that are in their 70s. And they're like, oh, well, I just decided I don't want to work anymore, but we need income. So, yeah, you can turn it on, and you can turn it on income immediately. You can turn it on a year from now, 2 years. It's just based on your situation.
Wow. Okay, there's a lot here, but Brendon, is there something we haven't touched on that you want to make sure we do? Because you've covered a lot of stuff here.
I just think that most people should look at the fact that if you look at like a Lockheed Martin, a Verizon, they took their frozen pensions and moved them to annuity companies. They moved them to annuity companies to protect their employees' pensions because they thought that much of them. So if the companies are doing it and they're not giving you any help for the options, reach out to someone in your area, whether it's me, whether it's whoever it may be. Just get another opinion instead of just trying to do it yourself and make those decisions. Would be a little bit of the advice I would give.
How many companies are still out there giving pensions? Do you know?
I don't know how many, because there are a ton of companies, but like I said, it's less than 4%.
And even when you start with one, there's no guarantee it's going to continue, as you're just mentioning.
Yeah. If you look at my wife's a teacher, and their teacher pension's completely underfunded.
Right.
And American Airlines retires are only paying, I think, 20 cents on the dollar for their pension. And a lot of the airlines went to the government, and they're only paying a portion of it. So when you look at you have the options when you're getting ready to retire. They give you those options to roll it out, to look at the whole scope of what the pension breakdowns are. Make sure you consult somebody, because we had a client at the Delaware Port Authority. We had a pension meeting. He goes in and goes, everyone does option 2. I was like, yeah, but option 2 is not the best for you and your family right now. He's like, but everyone does that. I'm like, well, it's not 20 years ago.
Yeah, hey,
it's
dude.
now, right? It's what you need to do now. Would you rather take this or use this and reinvest it somewhere, and you can make more money on your money long term?
Well, Brendon, how can people reach you? Because I'm sure there are people out there who want to have this conversation.
Yeah, they can go to our website. It's www.mycfsi.com, or they can call us at the office 610-449-9900.
All right, folks, you can build your own pension, and you can handle that pension. Talk to Brendon and the folks at Compass Financial Solutions. And, of course, don't forget to follow this podcast and share it with others. I'm Patrice Sikora, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you for listening to the Compass Wealth Conversations podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.compasswealth.com www.mycfsi.com. That's www.mycfsi.com. Or give us a call at 610-449-9900. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Compass Financial Solutions Incorporated. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Please note that the information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only. All opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of any institutions or entities they may be affiliated with. This podcast should not be considered as financial or tax advice. We strongly recommend consulting with a professional financial advisor or tax professional to get advice tailored to your specific situation before making any financial decisions.